Yeah, there's weeds sticking up out here. There we go, fish. First one of the day. Oh, they fight so hard. Ooh, that's a dandy. That is a way to start the day right there. It's this nice pig smallie. Check this out. Oh, yes. Boy, if there isn't proof right there that tube jigs work on big fish, that'll show you. Look at the size of that pig right there. That is awesome. What a way to start the day. Probably a 19-inch or so smallie. Fat too. Look at the belly on that. Whew. Inhaled that tube jig. Awesome. Man, that's a great fish. Look at that thing. Got that on a 3.5-inch coffee tube from Straight King. All right, let's get her back in the water. There we go. I really do think these tube jigs are a great beginner bass rig. Part of the reason is they're so versatile and affordable. They can be fished in many different ways, and they can be fished at different weights. So you can fish them shallow, you can fish them deep, depending on where the fish are holding. So if you're fishing, you know, under 10 foot of water, and you know, you can go as light as an 1/8 ounce or 1/16 ounce. Nice one. Or you can go all the way up to a full ounce if you need to, if those fish are really deep, pushing 40, 50 feet. Really dark, beautiful. So there's a lot of different ways to rig them, but I'm not gonna go over the myriad of ways to rig tube jigs. I'm just gonna cover the basic rigging, which is the lead head jig slid up through the inside. The eye is then poked through the plastic and you tie directly onto that, and that is it. It's a very simple rig. Oh, that was hit as soon as it dropped. He dropped it. Try again. Maybe I'll commit this time. There we go, got him. Figured he'd commit. Nice, decent fish. Man, they hit so much harder than a largemouth. There you go. Nice little smallie. I knew he'd come back for it. They always do. Nice pale one. There we go. Okay, there'll be something on the side of that. Nice. Oop, spit it. So this morning I've been using a smoke and red pepper flake. I'm going to switch up here to a goby pattern, which is kind of a green and blue pattern. You can see that there. Green on top, blue on the bottom with some sparkle. So this tube's seen better days. Most of the skirt's gone. So to put these in, it's very simple. Take your tube jig here. Now you can use a normal round ball jig head, but they make ones specially designed for tubes that have a little bit skinnier elongate head. You just shove that up inside the tube all the way to the front, and then you just push really hard around that eye and expose the eye right there, and then you can just tie in. If you hang them up, because of the vertical orientation of the hook, a lot of times you can just go back over the top of where you were, pull up, and it'll release. There we go. So the technique I was just using there was what I call the Pied Piper. It's basically a jigging technique. I like to just pop that jig along the bottom, and it's probably the #1 way in which I fish tube jigs, is just to slowly let them sink to the bottom and just slowly pop them back towards the boat along the bottom. It helps to prevent it from getting hung up, and it has a nice action, kind of like a crawdad swimming along the bottom. Nice little smallie. But there's a lot of different other ways you can fish tube jigs besides just popping along the bottom. You can actually, if there's not a lot of snags or anything, you can just slow retrieve them and sort of crawl them along the bottom. You can fish them like a jerkbait suspended, so instead of letting them sink to the bottom, I can just sit here and do quick retrieves, and because of that big flat bottom and profile, it'll dart side to side. And that's a good way to fish a tube jig above weed beds or a bunch of structure that you're worried about getting snagged up in if you let it fall to the bottom. I think the key here is not to overthink how you fish with tube jigs. Keep it simple. That's the beauty in tube jig fishing. There we go. Now you don't need anything really fancy in terms of gear. Just a medium powered spin cast or bait caster will do. And today I'm using Strike King's Pro coffee tubes, and these are 3.5 inches long. I like that 3.5 inch size for smallies. You can size up for largemouth. Nice fish. There's a lot of other brands of tubes out there, including Gitsits and the Savage Gear Goby tubes, which I like. But all of them work pretty well. So if you can't find the Strike King ones, then it's not that big a deal. So you can run monofilament or braid as your main line. If you run braid, run a leader. I typically run 30-pound braid and 12-pound fluorocarbon leader. It's just kind of snaggy out here. But you could go straight, you know, 10 or 8-pound mono or fluoro if you'd like. Thought I'd do a little giveaway today. Today I was using the Strike King coffee tubes, 3.5 inch. I'm going to give away a huge pile of these today. So how this works is all you got to do is make sure you hit that subscribe button first. If you're already a subscriber, don't worry about it. Then comment below and put your favorite spilt milk video in there that you enjoyed the most. If you can't think of one, then give me a future idea for a video that you would like to see me do. Alright, so that gets you one name in the bucket when I'm going to draw names when I get 100 likes on this video. You can also double your odds by sharing that video and tagging Spilt Milk Productions on Facebook. So then you'll get 2 names in the drawing. So let's see what we got going here. So I got 36 bags of coffee tubes up for grabs for one person. It's almost $200 worth of coffee tubes. We've got Crazy Cross 6 bags, Goby 6 bags of caught a few fish on that. My favorite, Smoke with Red Flake. We got Watermelon Gold and 12 bags of green pumpkin, because you can never have enough green pumpkin. All right, let's get back out on the water, and I look forward to drawing a name out of a hat and giving away a bunch of tube jigs. There we go. Ooh, that's a good fish. Oh yeah, that's a pig. Woo. That's a nice fish. Got it. Woo. Yes. There we go. Nice. A long fish, man. Super skinny, but man, he's long. He's over 20. That's awesome. Pretty cool on the tube jig. Well, I think that's going to do it for me today. Got a good number of bass today, probably 15, 20. Found lots of smaller fish closer to the bank, but you know, a little bit slower out here in the deeper water, but really connecting with some very nice quality fish on tube jigs. If you guys have any questions or anything, just let me know in the comments below, and I will get back to you. And be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy this content. I'll see you guys later.